Okay, so we've made our drums, our piano chords, our bass with the little glide sort of note shifts in it. Next thing we're going to do is look at turning this into a full track with a bit more of an arrangement. Now this next thing is something that took me ages to get my head around with Ableton, and which, to be honest, I find still a little bit confusing, but if I show you how to do it, you'll know and then you won't get stuck with it. Now, the thing with Ableton that's kind of different to a lot of the other software is that you've got these little clips that are kind of separate parts of your track that can be played on their own. So if I just want to play the bass on its own, I can click this triangle. And to stop that, I'll click that little square. And what this means is that you can jam around and play things live, which is cool. You know, it's called Ableton Live. The whole idea is you can use it to build a live set, do live performances, and that's something that we're going to get into a lot more detail with on VIP. So again, show you if I want to play these drums. And then if I want to bring in the piano, I can count 1, 2, 3, and so you can bring things in and out, bring in the bass. If I want to stop the drums, and if you want to play all of these clips at the same time, click this one on the far side. 1, 2, 3, and so you can kind of use it to arrange your track. Now that's pretty cool, but what I want to do today is show you how to do it the old school way, just to make it really accurate. So if you're giving this beat to rappers, if you want to turn this into a full track with vocals, that it's arranged in a way where the sections are all equal lengths and you kind of know exactly what you've got, because that way, if people are writing raps, writing lyrics to it, they're not going to get confused by a beat with all kind of different length sections. So the first thing you need to know is the tab button on your keyboard is the secret weapon with Ableton. Hit tab, pow. Look, it changes to this other view. This is called the arrange view, and this is a lot more like any kind of traditional music software. So say if you've ever used GarageBand or Logic or Cubase or Soundation, you can kind of see it looks a lot more like it, except all of this stuff, the controls are on the right hand side. A lot of the time you'll find them on the left hand side with everything else. If I press tab, it'll come back over here again. So tab switches between these two views. Now what I'm going to do is show you, at the moment, these little clips are only here in what's called the session view, where the clips are. If you press tab, you'll see there's nothing in this section, it's empty. And that can be really confusing. You've spent a little while, you've made all these sounds, why aren't they over here? The reason for that is, this is, imagine like the blank canvas that you're going to use these sounds to create the track on. So the way that we do it, the way that we get these into the other view is if you click on them, and I'm going to actually hold down shift so I can select all three at once. So you see I've got them selected. Now I'm going to click and hold down with the mouse or the trackpad, whatever you're using. So I'm clicking and holding down on all three. Hit tab again while I'm holding down. And can you see now? You can see these little sort of shadow ghost clips there. Now what I've got to do is drop them so they line up with the right tracks. So you can see I've got 3, 1, 2, 3. And they're lined up with these top 3 tracks. So if I let go of the mouse or the trackpad now, you can see they appear there. Cool, so we've got something there, but you can also see they're all kind of greyed out. You can't really see them, they're grey, and if I press play, nothing's going to happen. Now this confuses so many people get stuck with this. If I'm teaching someone how to use Ableton, this is always one of the things they get stuck with. Don't worry, everybody gets stuck with this. This little orange button here is the secret. Click on the orange button, again, pow, there you have it. Everything is suddenly lit up, and now, if I press play, now what you can see straight away is that our drum clip is shorter than our piano and our bass line, isn't it? So what we're going to do is a little secret trick to double that or duplicate it. What you want to do is Command or Windows and D. Can you see that's just duplicated it? Which is a really useful little trick. And that's something we're going to use quite a lot. Now what we're going to do is we're going to click on the loop at the top, and can you see by clicking on that bar it's selected all of those parts that we've made. Now if I do Command D again, it's duplicated the whole thing. Now this is pretty useful. Let's do that one more time, and then one more time. So you can now see we've got quite a decent chunk of music. Now this at the top is the loop. Probably should explain that now. Wherever you have this at the start, that's where it will start playing from, and this is the end, that's where it will repeat and go back to the start. So if I play from here, now spot the deliberate mistake. You see it didn't start and repeat. That's because I haven't got the loop turned on. So this button here turns on the loop. Now that's turned on, if I play it, back to the start. Okay. Now did you see how I played the track? This is another thing which can be a little bit confusing, but once you get the hang of it, it makes sense. This little symbol we've got here of the musical speaker means that whenever you see that, if you click, it will play from where you click. So click, and it'll play from there. Click, and it'll play from here. Click, and it'll play over here. Now, we've got our chunk of music. We know how to play it. What I want to do now is get into organising this into a kind of structure that would make sense to someone who's rapping on it. So, first thing I'm going to do is, you see this little empty space at the start? We're going to get rid of that. So I'm going to shorten the loop down. You see the loop now is just selecting the empty space. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to hold down Control on the keyboard. You see that brings up this little menu? And you only get that if you click on this black bar on the loop. So hold down Control, click on that loop, and what we want is cut time. What that's going to do, it's not going to just delete the little clips, it's going to actually delete that whole chunk of the tune. So cut time, there you go, bang, it's gone. So now we've just got what, if you look carefully, is a 16 bar chunk of music. Now I can tell that because can you see the 17 there? That 17 is the start of the next bar after our thing finishes. So look, 16 is where it ends. Now this is important because when you're making rap music, rappers a lot of the time write 16 bar lyrics. So say if you've got 2 or 3 rappers you want to work with on your track, you might be able to talk to them, work out who's going to go in what order, is there a hook or a chorus, and you can organise the track based on that. I'm going to show you a kind of typical sort of structure that you might want to have for your track, but you again might want to tweak this, change it a bit based on what you want to do with it. So we've got our 16 bar chunk of music. What we're going to do now is something that I like to do, is we're going to move the loop. I'm going to show you how to zoom. This is another thing. You see down here we've got the speaker symbol. If I move up here, can you see that little magnifying glass? That's a zoom symbol. If I click and drag down, you see it zooming in? If I click and drag up, it's zooming out. So that's a really useful thing to know when you're arranging your track. What I was actually doing is zoom in a bit, then we can move the loop, drag it across, again, zoom out a little bit, drag it all the way back to the start. Now, what I want to do in fact is, let's loop up this amount of the track, which is a 4 bar chunk. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4 bars. Click on the loop at the top to select it, hold down Control and go duplicate time or duplicate time. Now this is the opposite of what we did before where we cut the time out. This time we're duplicating it. So can you see now it's actually added a bit to our track? So now we've got 16 and this extra little bit here. What I'm going to do, just to make it clear, let's delete the bass from the start. So now if I play it from the start, and what I'm going to do next, I'm going to go into this drum clip, come down here, and I'm actually going to take out the kick. So I'm selecting them and using delete on my keyboard to delete them. And I'm also going to take out those as well. So all I've got now is those hi-hats and the little rim sound. And that's going to give us a little intro to the tune. Here's another really, really useful little tip for you. Hold down Control, click on this clip, and we're going to colour it in a different colour. Now the reason we're going to do that is so we can tell these two bits apart. Here's the one with just the rim shot, that little click sound, the rim shot, and here's the one where the main beat comes in. Now I'm going to go delete, 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 and then I'm going to click on this. I'm going to go Command D or Windows D, whichever it is on your computer, and duplicate that. So now what we've got is our little intro with just the piano and that stripped down version of the beat. In fact, yeah, let's delete this bass as well. So now we've got, in fact, I've made it an 8 bar intro, and then In fact, can you see I've added too many of these yellow ones? So another really useful key command, undo. So Command Z, or you can go Edit, Undo Duplicate Clips. I'm going to get rid of those. I'm going to put these ones back. So to copy it, to put it back, hold down Alt or Option, drag it and drop it. And the trick to this is you've got to let go of the mouse or the trackpad before you let go of the Option or Alt key. So now let's have a little listen. We've got that little intro, and then it should drop into the track with the bass line. Here we go. Cool. Now that's starting to work. Now, what I want to do now is just to organize the structure of the track quickly. Let's select this bit, which is our 16-bar verse, and we're going to go Control, Duplicate Time again. But this time, can you see it selected this second half for us? I'm going to Control click on it, and let's color this one in a different color. Now, there's a reason we do that. Now that we've selected that and turned it a different color, we can copy this whole section. So let's Duplicate Time again. And we can still easily see where the different 16-bar chunks are. So we've got 4-bar intro, then we've got 16-bar verse, 16-bar verse, 16-bar verse, 16-bar verse. So you know exactly where you are. If you're recording raps over this, you can see where one starts and one ends, and that's really useful. And then what we might do is let's duplicate this whole thing again. So then you've got a little section in the middle where it drops back down to that kind of intro section. Maybe for the one in the middle, I'm going to select that, Command L, Windows L, whatever it is, to select it, and that will loop it up. So Command L is a loop. Now we can click on this, Duplicate Time, just make that section a little bit longer. So now what we've got is basically a rough kind of structure for a track. Little intro, a drop, first is divided up into 16-bar chunks, another little drop in the middle, then some more for the end. That's enough to give you a basic kind of structure for your track, which a lot of the time you're going to kind of carry on working on it as you're working with rappers, but this will at least let you know where you are, what needs to go where, and you can see this makes the track just over sort of 3 minutes 45 long, getting up towards 4 minutes, which is a nice length of beat for someone to work on writing their lyrics along to. So I think that's a pretty good place to start in terms of an arrangement. Now, the final bit we're going to look at is some finishing touches, just getting the mix sounding good and adding some little details that will make it sound a bit more professional.